Ishata spent her morning immersed in coursework, focused on her laptop, while Rachel busied himself preparing lunch. Later, the two shared an intimate moment before Ishata left for college, leaving Rachel alone in her room. With nothing to occupy his time, boredom crept in as he aimlessly waited for her to return. That evening, when Ishata came back from college, the pair found themselves drawn to each other again, sharing another intimate moment on her small, narrow bed. Afterward, Rachel suggested they step out for some fresh air, eager to break the monotony of the day. Hello, and welcome to our channel. Today, we're diving into another chilling real-life story, one that's both heartbreaking and deeply unsettling. This time, the story comes from Hubli, a city in Karnataka, India. It's about a young college student who experienced a tragic and painful incident that left her family devastated. This video is not meant to sensationalize the story, but to provide information and raise awareness so that similar tragedies can be prevented in the future. Let's treat this as a lesson for all of us. Without further delay, what exactly happened in this case? Let's explore the full story together. Before diving into the story, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Oh, and make sure to share this story with your friends. It's one you won't want to keep to yourself. Now, here's how the story unfolds. There was a girl named Ishata, hailing from Dharwad, a city in the Karnataka state of India. Born in 1997, Ishata is the youngest of two siblings. Her older brother is married, and her father, Rajesh, serves as the principal of a junior school in Dharwad. Known for her friendly demeanor and warm smile, Ishata is adored by everyone: her friends, her family, and her community. After graduating high school in 2016, Ishata moved from Dharwad to Hubli to attend Hubli City State University, where she pursued a degree in informatics engineering. She's hardworking, brilliant, and determined to excel. But let's rewind a bit. Ishata had a complicated relationship with a boy from her junior school days named Rachel. Their love story had its ups and downs, largely because of Rachel's pretentious, hot-tempered, and disrespectful nature. Despite his flaws, Ishata always found herself drawn back to him. Maybe it was his bad boy persona that kept her hooked. Every time they argued, Rachel would apologize, and Ishata would forgive him. However, Ishata's mother, Svatika, wasn't a fan of this relationship. She thought Rachel was irresponsible, careless in his speech, and aimless in life after graduating. When Ishata moved to college and began living with her grandfather, Naveen, her mother felt more at ease. At least she wouldn't be near the tattooed troublemaker. But love, as they say, knows no bounds. Rachel wasn't ready to let go. He moved to Hubli to be closer to Ishata, determined to win her back. Against her family's wishes, Ishata rekindled their relationship, keeping it a secret from everyone, especially her grandfather. They were careful not to get caught, but old habits die hard. Rachel's possessive and controlling nature soon resurfaced. Their relationship turned toxic, and Ishata began standing up for herself, especially when his anger led to physical violence. Things took a serious turn in September 2016 when Ishata finally confessed to her parents about her ongoing secret relationship with Rachel. By then, Rachel had crossed the line. His violent tendencies weren't limited to Ishata anymore. He had started threatening her family as well. Alarmed, Ishata's parents reported him to the authorities. The complaint led to Rachel's arrest, and he was sentenced to a year in prison for his abusive behavior. But that wasn't the end of the story. After serving only 10 months, Rachel was released and wasted no time finding Ishata again. This time, he came back with tears and promises. He vowed to change, to find a stable job, and to marry her once she graduated. And, as sometimes happens, Ishata's heart softened. Against all logic, she gave him another chance. Rachel, born on August 24, 1997, began working odd jobs to prove himself. When he wasn't working on small projects, he could be found parking cars outside mini-markets, anything to show he was serious about turning his life around. This was the turning point for Ishata. With several reasons to back her decision, she finally asked to move out of her grandfather's house and live on her own. By July 2018, she had settled into a women-only boarding house on the outskirts of Hubley. Her mother and grandfather were supportive, helping her move in and even making sure to get the contact information of the boarding house supervisor, Vijay, just in case. At first, everything seemed fine. Ishata's life felt peaceful, and her rekindled relationship with Rachel was steady. Feeling hopeful, she eventually confessed to her mother that she had gotten back together with him. She explained that Rachel had changed. He was no longer the aggressive and rude boy he used to be. He had become gentler and even more diligent in his spiritual practices. Naturally, her mother, Svatika, wasn't convinced. She repeatedly urged Ishata to end things with Rachel, warning her of potential heartbreak and trouble. But Ishata, determined and in love, stood her ground. After much debate, Svatika reluctantly gave in, though she reminded her daughter, "If anything ever happens, don't hesitate to tell me." By September 2018, Rachel was a frequent visitor at Ishata's boarding house, though the house rules strictly prohibited overnight stays. Unfortunately, Svatika's fears weren't unfounded. By early 2019, the cracks in their relationship began to show again. Rachel's possessiveness and controlling behavior returned, accompanied by jealousy and fits of anger that often turned physical. Ashamed to admit to her family that things had gone south after she had defended him so passionately, Ishata kept the truth to herself. She fought back during his violent outbursts but avoided letting her family in on the chaos. The landlord later revealed that other tenants often complained about loud arguments and disturbances coming from Ishata's room. One night, after a particularly noisy altercation, Ishata's mother called her, worried. But Ishata brushed it off, saying it was just a plate falling or the TV volume being too loud. Her reassurances kept her mother calm, even though the truth was far darker. On March 7, 2019, Rachel visited Ishata at her boarding house. The two spent the morning chatting, then went out on Ishata's motorbike to grab some food. Later, while Ishata worked on her coursework, Rachel prepared lunch. The couple shared intimate moments during the day before Ishata left for her college classes, leaving Rachel in her room. Bored and restless, Rachel stayed in her room all day, waiting for her to return. When Ishata came back that evening, the couple shared another private moment, but things quickly took a turn. As Ishata's phone buzzed with a WhatsApp notification, Rachel snatched it from her hands. He read the message. It was from one of her college friends, a male classmate, inviting her to a group study session to complete an assignment due the next day. This enraged Rachel. He accused her of making excuses to see another man. "What kind of group study happens at night?" he snapped. Ishata tried to explain that it was a necessary meeting to finish their assignment on time, but Rachel refused to listen. He even responded to her classmate's message, pretending to be her, saying she wouldn't be coming. When Ishata stood her ground and tried to take her phone back, the argument escalated. Rachel's anger boiled over, and he physically attacked her, hitting her forehead. Ishata fought back, but their fight spiraled out of control. In a fit of rage, Rachel grabbed a pillow and smothered her. Tragically, Ishata's struggles ceased, and she took her last breath at just 20 years old. Panicked and overwhelmed by what he had done, Rachel kissed her forehead, laid her lifeless body on the bed, turned off her phone, locked the door, and fled to the Arvod, leaving behind a tragedy that would haunt everyone who loved her. Meanwhile, the silence from Ishata left one of her friends, Sunita, feeling uneasy. She sent WhatsApp messages and tried calling, but there was no response. Concerned, Sunita decided to visit Ishata's boarding room around 8 p.m. on Monday. When she arrived, the door was locked, and the room seemed empty, so she went home. The next day, Tuesday, she returned at around 1 p.m. and noticed Ishata's scooter still parked in the same spot as the night before. Once again, there was no response when she knocked on the door. Frustrated and worried, Sunita left without any answers. By now, 2 days had passed since anyone had heard from Ishata, and her mother, Svatika, was growing increasingly anxious. Unable to reach her daughter, Svatika called the boarding house supervisor, Mr. Vijay. He informed her that Ishata's room was locked, and he assumed she was at college, unaware that her scooter hadn't moved. Desperate, Svatika reached out to one of Ishata's college friends, Rahel, via WhatsApp to ask if he had seen her. Rahel mentioned that Ishata hadn't attended classes for 2 days and promised to check on her at the boarding house. On March 10, 2019, around 10 a.m., Rahel, along with his friends Akhil and Sunita, went to Ishata's residence. They knocked repeatedly, but there was no response. Looking through the window, they spotted a key lying inside the room. Using the key, they unlocked the door, but as soon as it cracked open, a strong, foul odor filled the air. Dread settling in, they entered and found Ishata's lifeless body. Shocked, they immediately informed the boarding house owner, who contacted the police. Ishata's body was taken to Hubli General Hospital for an autopsy. The Hubli police launched an investigation at the scene. According to their findings, Ishata's death was caused by blunt force trauma to the head and asphyxiation. Witness statements from other residents revealed that the last person seen with her was her boyfriend, Rachel. With the help of Ishata's friends, the police set a trap, messaging Rachel on WhatsApp to meet near the campus, claiming there was something important to discuss. Within 3 hours of Ishata's body being discovered, the police apprehended Rachel, who confessed to everything without resistance. In custody, Rachel expressed regret for his actions, claiming he loved Ishata deeply but struggled with his uncontrollable anger and jealousy. He admitted that his insecurities about his unemployed status and lack of prospects fueled his possessiveness. She was beautiful, educated, and surrounded by smart, handsome friends, he said. I always felt I wasn't good enough for her, and that fear of losing her consumed me. His jealousy would peak whenever Ishata received messages from male friends or when she went to college, leaving him feeling powerless and unworthy. At the trial held in the Singaraja District Court, Ishata's mother, Svatika, testified, stating that she had never approved of their relationship. She described Rachel as rude, disrespectful, and unfit for her daughter. His heavily tattooed appearance, history of violent behavior, and status as a repeat offender only strengthened her conviction that he could never change. Svatika emphasized that he lacked direction in life, spending most of his time waiting for Ishata to return from college rather than building a future for himself. On August 16, 2019, the judge delivered the verdict. Rachel was found guilty of violating Article 338 of the Criminal Code and Article 351, Paragraph 3, which address violent acts resulting in death. He was sentenced to 14 years in prison, with no chance of release before completing his term. This decision aligned with the prosecutor's request. Though his lawyer advised him to appeal, suggesting the possibility of reducing his sentence by a third, Rachel declined. I'm ready to take full responsibility for what I've done, he said, accepting his fate. The case closed with justice served, but it left behind a trail of heartbreak for Ishata's family and friends, forever marked by the loss of a bright young woman who had so much ahead of her. What lessons can we take from this story?